Hello, and welcome to the very first video series from the Wild Host Gaming Table. My name is Percy, and today we're going to start this video series of how to teach Warhammer 40,000. It's going to be several videos long. I'm going to split it up so that it's easy to digest. And this is really for anybody who has been curious on how to teach a friend or just people that come into a gaming store how to play Warhammer 40,000 in an understandable way. We'll start by me showing some of the materials that I'll be using, some of the armies that I'm going to be using to teach with, and then in a later video we'll introduce Scott, who is the friend of mine that I'm going to be teaching Warhammer 40,000. I really hope you enjoy this video series and hang on tight as we go through some of the materials that you'll need in order to be able to teach Warhammer 40k well. Okay, so now it's time to start going over some of the things that you're going to need in order to teach Warhammer 40k. We'll go over things like terrain, armies that you'll need, a good sufficient point cost, just to cover the basic rules of 40k. The first thing you'll need, like I said, is an ample amount of terrain. Now my mountain of terrain is all in a suitcase. This is how I'm able to house it, to keep it in my house, in my apartment. And I've got several pieces, finished and unfinished, pieces that I've taken off of kids' toys that are no longer used, pieces that I've built with old board game. Really, terrain needs to be shown to new people that it doesn't have to be super expensive just to have a good set of terrain. We've got things like trees that I bought from Walmart in the Christmas aisle over Christmas break. They were like, seriously, 50 cents a tree. I've got probably 30 trees in there that I can just set on a round cork board, and it's a forest, and it's ready to go. And I've got things like castle turrets that I use as either impassable terrains, or we can even use them as war posts. I can't remember what they're called right now, from the Stronghold Assault book. I'll remember it later, and I'll just yell it out or something probably. I've got this road piece. I've got a multi-set terrain that I've built that can kind of come apart. The buildings come off, the roofs come off, there are rooms on the larger building. Just a really variable amount of terrain so that you can help to teach what different pieces of terrain do. And the next thing that you're going to need is a lot of variation in the different tools that you need to play the game. Now there are some things like templates, blast templates, flavor templates, those kind of things that they don't vary. You've got the one basic module. Now I don't have the apocalypse templates here, but these are the basic templates. This is what you'll need to teach a game of 40k. You need measuring tape, preferably bring 2 of your own. Don't put anything on your guest to bring to learn Warhammer 40k. Have every material ready. Then have several packs of dice. I have several packs because I've got 2 horde armies that I'm going to be kind of teaching today, so they'll need a lot of dice. But as you see, I have a set of Games Workshop dice that I'm going to show, and I have 2 sets of just plain dice that I bought that I like. And I've got 4 different armies that I'm going to be showing. I've got the Space Wolves, Chaos Space Marines, Astra Militarum, and the Orcs. And I would highly suggest having your own armies to be able to show someone how to play 40k. At the very least, having your own codex ready so that they can look over it beforehand and learn kind of some basic rules and ask you any questions about the army that they may want to ask. Finally, really, the thing you'll need is a rule book. Now, I've got the small hardcover rule book here. I bought that just because it was cheaper. I like it. It's easy to carry around instead of a giant other book like these. A rule book that they can look through, that they can feel comfortable seeing, again, so that they can ask you questions. Don't just bring armies to a store and tell them these rules without them knowing, without them being able to look at it and see it, feel it for themselves. Another thing that I would add to your checklist to bring to a teaching game of 40k would be data cards. Data cards, and more data cards. As many as you can get your hands on, because chances are the person you're teaching 40k to has probably not played a war game on this scale yet. They're already going to be overwhelmed by the massive dice count that they have to keep track of and all the rules that are going to seem crazy to them. And so taking things like these data cards and having the tactical objectives, the psychic powers, everything that they would need to run one of these armies, as much of it as you can possibly bring. Now you can see I don't have the Chaos Marines and I don't have the Astra Militarum data cards or order cards yet. But we'll work through that, when we get to the battle. But I think that these things here are really what you're going to need to start teaching a game of Warhammer 40,000. Now let's look at the actual armies, and I'll explain the lists that I brought and why I brought certain things in those lists. First, let's go over the orcs. Now I want to take this time to say it's okay to bring unfinished models to a teaching game. Like I brought these Devcoptas, and I have a truck that's not even primed yet. It's okay to bring these so that your friend, your guest, whoever you're teaching might be able to see the different stages of wargaming. I've even brought some that are based, some that aren't based, and we'll look at all those individually in a second, but right now, let me go ahead and explain the list that I brought. Okay, so for the orcs, as the warlord, we have a pain boy. Now, I don't have an actual pain boy, so I'm using the knob warbiker that I have modeled with a power claw to proxy as a pain boy. And again, this is to show that it's okay to not have the models in friendly games. In a tournament setting, you'll be teaching differently, but like I said, we're teaching friends and guests. We're not teaching how to play tournaments. So I've got a pain boy on a war bike. He's got his normal stuff. On top of all of that, he's got a... Nope, he's just got the war bike and a Grot orderly. And that's all that he has, and he's got a boss pole as well, and that's all that he's kitted out with. Next up, I'll go over the troops. I've got 3 units of boys, all in trucks. 2 units of boys have a knob with a power claw attached to them. Actually, sorry, they're modeled with power claws. I don't have them with power claws. I brought very basic lists for the orcs. And you'll just understand why. There are only 1,000-point lists here, very small lists for a very small game. And I've got one over here with a rocket launcher. So, just 10 boys plus the 1 extra, the knob on the 2, and then the rocket launcher in the 1, and then 3 trucks. And the trucks are all exactly identical. They are all equipped with extra armor, grot riggers, and a red paint job. Next on the list we have the knob bikers. Now, this is a personal preference of mine. You can bring regular bikers. Really don't have to bring any bikers. I brought them to exhibit fast movement, really. If he chooses to use the orcs, the bikers are an excellent way to show fast movement, and knob bikers are excellent in that they have 2 wounds. So if he takes a dangerous terrain roll and he's using the orcs on these bikes, they're not going to die instantly. And that's one thing that I just really have always hated about bikes. I don't like bikes normally, but the knob bikers are stupendous. I love using them. They're probably my favorite unit in my orc army. Next we have the Devcoptas, and again there's a little bit of proxying going on. The one with the 2 blades is going to have a twin-linked rocket launcher and a big bomb. And the one with 4 blades will have a twin-linked rocket launcher and a buzzsaw attached to it for close combat. Now they are being taken as individual Devcoptas. They're not taken as a unit, that way I can deploy them any way that I need to. Finally, here in the back we have 5 Ludas that I brought, and again, just kind of brought these to show what basing looks like, to kind of show off this is an eBay purchased model, and to show off the kind of quality you can sometimes expect to get from eBay, not always. It doesn't always turn out super well. I got these Devcoptas from eBay, and I've several others that I got from the same person, and several blades are missing. So I'm to just explain different things like that. The next army I want to go over today is the Imperial Guard. This is a fun one. This is a new army that I've just started buying. I bought a lot off eBay. I bought a couple of kits myself. And as you can see, the different paint jobs, the different things that have been done to them by other people. So, moving right in, the HQ choice is just a company command squad, and that's the only HQ. The warlord right there is going to be the company command leader, the platoon captain or whatever he's called. And then I'm going to have 2 flamers in the mix there, and then 2 regular veterans. and they're going to be riding in the Chimera, and the Chimera itself is kitted out with camo netting, dozer blade, extra armor, fire barrels, and the weapons are a heavy flamer on the turret, a heavy flamer on the hull, and I went ahead and added a pintle mounted storm bolter, even though it's not modeled with it, just for the sake of points, just to get a well-rounded 1,000 points out of it. For troops, I brought both kinds of troops you can find in Imperial Guard. Here is a veteran squad, kitted out as demolitions, and a lot of them are modeled with shotguns, and for the most part that is just to differentiate them between the regular platoon and, well, the veterans. They have shotguns, well, las guns. There are 3 in the mix with grenade launchers, 1, 2, 3. And we've got the sergeant, who is equipped with frag grenades, close combat weapon, las pistol, you know, the normal stuff. And they also are riding in this Chimera. The Chimera is kitted out almost exactly like the other. It's showing the multi-laser and hull, or heavy bolter, but I've also got it listed with the 2 heavy flamers, a dozer blade, camo netting, extra armor, and fire barrels, but no pintle mounted storm bolter. In fact, let me go ahead and just change these 2. I wanted the white to be with the white guys, but you know what, since this one has the storm bolter, we're gonna go ahead and let it represent the command squad. In the platoon itself, I brought a regular platoon. We've got the platoon command squad, and it's all totally normal, no upgrades whatsoever. And the 3 platoons, the 3 platoon squads, infantry squads, are 100% stock. Except that I gave them all crack grenades. Again, just to round out the points. And they each have, the sergeant is going to be the man with the backpack, and they each have a Voxcaster as well. And we'll determine who that is. I'll let him pick the model that he wants for that. And then attached to the platoon also we have an autocannon squad, 3 autocannons, and a mortar squad. Finally, for heavy support, we have a Lehman Russ battle tank. Just a straight up battle tank with a battle cannon, with a las cannon mounted to the hull, and the sponsons are both heavy bolters. Moving on to the Nurgle Chaos Space Marines that I'm bringing for him to use. Again, we have an unfinished Rhino. We have primed but not painted Chaos Cultists, and we have an unfinished Hellbrute here that is going to be proxying some weapons. Most of these came from the Dark Vengeance set. First off is the Sorcerer here. He is the Chaos Lord that comes in Dark Vengeance, and I'm using him as a Sorcerer here. He will have a Force Sword, the Burning Brand of Scalthrax, Veterans of the Long War, Mark of Nurgle. He has 2 extra mastery levels. Sorry, showing off some of the Space Wolves there. He will have a Gift of Mutation, a Spell Familiar, because you don't take the Sorcerer and Chaos Space Marines without a Spell Familiar. And he will be equipped with Blight Grenades, Melted Bombs, and a Sigil of Corruption. Moving into the Chaos Marines, we have got just really a normal squad, with the exception of a heavy bolter and a plasma gun there in the back. And they are going to be riding in a Rhino, you can see there, equipped with an extra combi bolter and a combi plasma, along with extra armor, dozer blades, and a dirgecaster. Next on the list, we have got Chaos Bikers. No, let's go ahead and go over the cultists. These are the Dark Vengeance cultists. I have them split up into 2 squads. Each has a leader and 4 auto pistols with close combat weapons, and then 5 auto guns. This guy would be a heavy stubber, but he's just going to be proxying as an auto gun. Or actually, he's the flamer. Heavy stubbers back here. Just for the sake of having a well-rounded troops list that can just come in and hold close objectives or hide until the end of the game. You know, whatever you do with your Chaos Cultists, it's really up to the individual. And then we have a unit of Nurgle Bikers. The captain here has a Power Lance, and will have a Gift of Mutation, and I believe he also is carrying Melta Bombs. Everything that can take Veterans of the Long War is taking Veterans of the Long War, and everything that can take a Mark of Nurgle has a Mark of Nurgle. And I'm going to find some way to identify which two they are, but two of the Chaos Bikers will have Flamers attached to their bikes. And last but not least is this here Hellbrute, and I have him equipped with the normal Power Fist, and instead of the multi-melta, because most of these lists other than the Astra Militarum are either easy to get to or heavy troop, and not really any tough vehicles other than that one Leman Russ. He's got a plasma cannon instead of the multi-melta. I just thought that that would be more helpful overall against all these troopy lists. And chances are I won't choose the Astra Militarum if he chooses the Chaos Space Marines. And last but certainly not least are my pride and joy, the Space Wolves. And again, there are a couple of proxies. I've got two HQ choices. This here is normally Ulrich the Slayer, but he is just going to be a Wolf Priest. And then this is just a Sergeant that comes with one of the box sets, and he's going to be acting as a Wolf Priest as well. They are going to both join small units, minimum units of Grey Hunters with Wolf Guard battle leaders that have Power Fists here and here, 2 Power Fists. Second, we're going to have 10 Blood Claws. They will also have a battle leader, and he has 2 Wolf Claws. They will be riding in this drop pod. Then for elites, we have got this Venerable Dreadnought, which you can see kind of a minor conversion of mine. I put the Murderfang Claws on top because I wasn't creating Murderfang. I liked them. I wanted them to be a part of the creation. I've got True Claw, Bjorn the Fell-Handed's Claw, proxying as a Great Wolf Claw with a Heavy Flamer attached, and simply a base-coated Hellfrost cannon there. And then finally, on this small list of Space Wolves, we have 3 Thunderwolf Cavalry. I love the Thunderwolf Cavalry. They're so much fun, but they are so expensive. They took probably a quarter or more of this list. We've got a leader with a Thunderhammer and Storm Shield, and then 2 in the back, both with Frost Axes and Bolt Pistols. And I just have to blurb about it. I modeled them with their Storm Shields on their backs in case I ever did want to take them with Storm Shields instead of Bolt Pistols. All of that being said, we've got these 4 armies, and you've seen them as I shook the camera around and wasn't very consistent. At least I can admit it. So I brought 4 armies for him to be able to choose from. They're all pretty well rounded. They all have a minimum of two troops choices. All of them are combined arms, just to keep it as simple as I can for him. And they all have several options. Even these Space Wolves I brought in the drop pod, sorry, let me explain this. There are Deathwind missile launchers for anybody who's crying about the 30 points that I hadn't spent yet. But yeah, we've got the heavy weapon on the Dreadnought, and then lots of great troop choices and great melee choices in the Space Wolves, because really, fluff-wise and play-wise, that's how they're supposed to run. They're not supposed to be a shooty army, so I brought them as they're supposed to be. The Chaos, again, not supposed to be incredibly shooty. A few more bodies, but really, same general idea as the Space Wolves. They are both Space Marine armies of a sort. The Astra Militarum, I brought lots of troops, lots of guns, and lots of orders for him to give out. He's got, like I said, the company command squad and the platoon command squad, so that's 3 orders that can be thrown out in one turn. So that really, if he wanted to, could cover all 3 of the basic troops. He could have these guys follow his veterans and the chimeras and just take a tank trip up the alley. Whatever really he wanted to do, he has plenty of options with the Imperial Guard. And the same thing with the orcs. I'm a speed freak orc. I love the speed freaks ideas. Eventually I'm going to branch out and get some more mechs, like the Gorkanaut, Morkanaut, Cans, Death Dreads, but really right now it's all about the trucks and bikes and fast things and jets and anything else I can get my hands on. I even made my elites into bikes. And really just to show that flavor of Orc. It's my favorite flavor of Orc. And really because everything's in trucks and all of that, the Pain Boy will be able to keep up with everything and join whatever squad he needs to when it's time for close combat. And that's going to be a lot of fun for the Orc player, if we even have Orcs. So later on, hopefully over the span of this weekend, we'll be able to get at least one game of this teaching style in. What I'm going to do, probably in the next videos, the next several, is I'm going to take one of these 2x2 boards and just explain phases in a small confined space. And I think that's a very good idea for someone who's trying to learn, so that they're not overwhelmed by just a gigantic board, this giant 6x4 game board.